morning. It's 5 a.m. Time to rip. When you discuss brand identity, especially during Christmas, the question on the table, and a lot of times some of the best commercials and content come out during Christmas because folks are inspired, or you want to send out a specific message, or you want to show that you're thankful as a business, or you want to, really reach out to your base and your market and maybe get a few more people that may have not thought of you as a company. But mistakes can happen, and mistakes can happen in multiple different areas. Um, let's discuss Light Export US, Lexus. In my opinion, as of right now, typically during Christmas, some of the automotive commercials are some of the best content out there each year. You look forward to them, right? For Mercedes, for a long period of time, they would have a red SL with Santa's sleigh, and then you'd have SUVs or whatever else pulling the sleigh. Or with Lexus, they've got just a wonderful commercial out. I'll put the link below. And but for someone like me, it was disconcerting, polarizing. The the family is growing up with their Lexuses, right? And as they're growing up, their car enthusiasm is dying in real time, at least in my view. Now, their practicality and their needs were changing as they were growing in the timeline, right? But you go basically from some of the most beautiful Lexuses. Um, you basically go from an SC400 to an RX350, which in my view, you just went from just one of the holy grail cars. People look at SC400s and Supras as baseline holy grail vehicles, especially on the Japanese side of imports, to an RX 350, a little bit depressing, right? Straight to soccer mom SUV. Now, full disclosure, I worked for Autotrader for 3 years, cars.com before that. So let me give you a little bit of background from that area. Autotrader, in my opinion, years ago lost their brand identity. Keenan Thompson is from New York City. He's not really a car guy. Now, if you wanted to go that direction, there's many ways to go. Rich Rebuilds, Rich Benoit, Freddie Tavares. You could go back to a Hoovy, Tyler Hoover. You could go back to a Doug DeMuro, who previously worked for the company. You could find people that are somewhat instrumental in the car industry, and that's where Carvana has done a great job. Dax Shepard is a proper gearhead. Make no mistake about it. Now, does he drive a base Challenger, Hemi, non-Hemi, from the commercials? No, he doesn't. That dude's got a Roadmaster that's out of this world. But what are you telling people? Who are you? Autotrader deals with dealerships directly from basically a membership setup, dealer to dealer. They are paying, dealers are paying Autotrader for their services, and then in exchange, Autotrader is building their brand to regular consumers so that they search Autotrader for cars. Okay, what are you telling your dealer when you pull up in a Ford Fusion? Or Chevy Malibu, like they gave me. My dad knew I was probably looking for other jobs the second they gave me a business car that was a Chevy Malibu hybrid. Now, is that my bias? Maybe. But it's also wanting the brand to tell something about themselves that's over top the end result. You can't tell me you're a car person and then pull up in a Malibu hybrid. I don't think you are at all. I think you went for the cheapest lease you could get as a corporate perspective. Now, do they pay well and they treat their people well? Yeah, extremely. But could you have done that in a different arena? Maybe, probably. Should you have gotten a gentleman that's awesome? Don't get me wrong, I grew up on Keenan and Kel, but this guy's lived in New York City for at least a decade. Been one of the longest tenured SNL cast members. So that's just brass tacks. That's just truth, right? Now, at the end of the day, who are you and who are you trying to speak to? Know your market. Now, are you going to a volume brand? Okay, so a Ford Fusion's a volume car, but it's not a volume car. How many Ford Fusion hybrids did Ford sell outside of fleet? It's not a hard question. Ask AI real quick. Cracker Barrel. To my understanding, they kept the guy on that made the blunder, updated their brand decals and everything in between. But then during that time, some of the best content I saw was marketing people actually trying to give you a good idea. There was a daughter of the original Cracker Barrel person who was kind of taken down to a new menu items, right? Healthier choices for your family, value options that make sense, uh, actually incorporating the next generation into it. The new generation's hard to reach, and you've got to ascend decades, right? With Autotrader, you used to pick up the magazine at the grocery store, and every child grabbed it because of the whether it was a Hemi accelerator pedal for the from the foot, or was it what were they looking for? They weren't looking for a Ford Fusion. You have to remember who you are and then continue it. And if you don't, you'll lose it because companies like Carvana will come in with great width and breadth in their actual inventory and come in with a person like Dax Shepard who really isn't polarizing and he's actually a car person and they'll stock proper enthusiast cars. Now, do they have the vanilla inventory as well? Yeah. But do they stock proper enthusiast vehicles? Absolutely they do. The biggest risk they take are some of the enthusiast cars they take because you're talking about 500-600 horsepower vehicles that have 50 to 100,000 miles on them that could be a problem. Where are they finding a niche? Autotrader may or may not have 20, 30, 40 dealerships just in your specific area, maybe 50, 60, 70, depending on if you're a big metro. But are those dealerships taking a risk? Can you find an enthusiast car at most of those dealerships? Not necessarily. Maybe if they got one on trade. But generally, they're still going to wholesale it out because they couldn't get it past the shop. I don't want to go too automotive specific, but the reality of the situation, they are some of the most well-known but also visible brands out there because they're spending so much money in doing it. If you're going to spend the money, make sure it's the right way. Food for thought. Bring comments. Let me know.